and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. The Amazonian War of Independence is not an issue of a particular fighter. It is a spirit that cannot be extinct by killing a fighter. Many of recent had the feeling that the colonial Republic government forces had conquered the territory of Bafut from the Amazonian Defense Corps to Seven Kata. But then, sleep does not mean death. It's a normal saying describing a situation where someone pulls back to better sprint forward. The Bafut 7 kata is back from a brief period of blackout. While 7 kata comes back to action, what's the update on the kidnapped and kidnappers? Well, we brought to you yesterday lawyer Tafa, known to be a household name in legal practice in Bamenda local government area, and since 1994, who has carved a niche for himself as an international prosecutor of war crimes in the Arusha, Tanzania ICC tribunal, set up to try perpetrators of the Rwandan genocide. We brought to you how he was kidnapped. What are the updates to this? We have a load of that and more in the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. But first, we'll have the recap, the prime headlines.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. Tonight, we'll start with Bafut 7 Qatar intercepting a Hilux with a ban brewery, destroying its content because the vehicle set ablaze. Yesterday, we started a report on barrister Peter Tafa. Tonight, we will continue with profiling kidnappers. Bamenda Ndop water sweeps the only usable bridge in Ndop. 66% of Cameroonese want a military coup. Is that possible? Well, you'll find out in our analysis tonight. Another foreign scene, Biden marks 9/11 in Alaska, calls on Americans to protect their democracy. Now let's get the news in detail. The Amazonian War of Independence is not an issue of a particular fighter. It is a sport that cannot be extended by killing a fighter. Many of late had the feelings that the colonial Republic of Cameroon's government forces had conquered the territory of Bafut from the Amazonian Defense Corps, the 7 Qatar. This is a normal say when they say sleep no be die, describing a situation whereby someone pulls back to better sprint forward. The Bafut 7th Qatar is back from a brief period of blackout. Bafut 7 Qatar has intercepted a Hilux in Bafut, a route to Menchun County, with banned brewery product on board. Not only was the car disrespecting lockdown, but it was also violating a ban on Brazil's products. Sincerest apologies for starting way behind schedule tonight, but we are here. Hope you enjoyed the news tonight. How are you doing, Steph?
Very well, Onyi. Good evening, Amazonians. Well, the dreaded Bafut 7 kata is back and kicking as a force to reckon with in the fight for the restoration of the statehood of former British Southern Cameroons. The Bafut 7 kata, in a move to enforce the 2-week ghost town in Amazonia and in Mazam County in particular, has intercepted a Toyota Hilux vehicle en route to Menchum County. The driver of the vehicle, in an attempt to outsmart the vigilance of the 7 Qatar Restoration Forces of Bafut, embarked on the trip FM, and surprisingly the for him, the 7 Qatar who knew no nights were already awake and alert.
Well, the 7 Qatar of Bafut intercepted the vehicle in Bafut at 3 a.m. Upon verification of what was on board, the vehicle violated lockdown to start with and banned the drinks that were on board. The Bafut 7 Qatar flooded the vehicle of the banned brewery product and set the car on fire. The drinks were equally destroyed by the brave fighters. The message is clear that the forces of Bafut, the 7 Qatar are unshakable, and the intelligence of the Amazonian Restoration Forces is compared to none, and violators of the Amazonian injunction will pay.
Moving on, the colonial La Republic government's slow pace of executing projects in Amazonia, it's obviously intentional. It is a calculated move to prevent the people of Amazonia from putting in place their spirit of community work. But knowing that when the people of the Federal Republic of Amazonia see that a project is being initiated, their attentions will be diverted. La Republic will slow the realization of the project to the detriment of the people of Amazonia. Foodstuff destined for Bamenda is decomposing at the moment as water has swept off the temporal bridge at a deviation in Undop. The main bridge that the colonial La Republic government engaged in the construction is still at the level of the foundation after 2 years. What has the construction team been doing for these 2 long years?
Farmers are trapped in the chief town of Ngokentuja County with their perishable foodstuff as water swept the lone temporary bridge in use. Foodstuff destined for the Bamenda market is decomposing in Ndop. Bags of Irish potatoes are dripping with water after staying in bags for days on the spot. The Bamunka Bamili Road was disconnected as the bridge linking these two localities ended up collapsed. The Colonial La Republic of the Cameroon government initiated a reconstruction of the bridge and made provision for a temporary bridge at a deviation. Unfortunately, and in fulfillment of the wish of La Republic of the Cameroon, the bridge is swept off by rainwater. The main bridge that the Colonial La Republic of the Cameroon government started is 2 years now, and the level of execution is still at the level of the foundation.
Interesting. Well, movement across is paralyzed, though some energetic youths are transporting lighter luggages on their heads to the other side, while heavier things are stuck on the other side of the bridge that has been swept away. Farmers with heavy harvests heading to for the ready market in Amazonia are lamenting and up as their goods are decomposing. The colonial public government is paying with time in the name of reconstructing, playing with time. The first bridge is always disregarding the people of the Federal Republic of Amazonia and leaving them to suffer. After 2 years of construction, the project is still at the starting level.
Moving on, we brought this report yesterday of the United Nations Attorney and Prosecutor of War Crimes, Peter Tafa, who was abducted on Sunday in Intarinkum neighborhood in the local government area of Mason County. Of course, you know, he's a lawyer, a barrister, Tafa, known to be a household name in legal practice in Bamenda since 1994, who has carved a niche for himself as an international prosecutor of war crimes in the Arusha, Tanzania ICC tribunal set up to try perpetrators of the Rwanda genocide. The kidnapping of Barrister Tafa was seen by political pundits as another attempt by enablers and La Republic of Cameroon to taint the image of the Amazonian struggle for statehood restoration.
Well, the abduction of Barrister Tafa on Sunday was a bad omen for the gang of kidnappers out to destroy the Amazonians' genuine quest for total freedom under the leadership of Dr. Samuel Komisako, President of the Republic of Amazonia. The United Nations and the ICC, for which he works, were deeply concerned over his abduction, due to which Ayabacho Lucas was put under pressure to release Barrister Tafa.
Well, now we brought this incident, which occurred 2 days ago, to you yesterday. Lawyer Tafo is the CEO and legal consultant, international attorney of the Destiny Law Firm in Bamenda. He is an advisor, law journal, board member of the Law Society, member of the Nigerian Bar Association, member of International Lawyers Association, and was a victim, as we are saying.
Well, recent updates reaching us confirms that this barrister Peter Tafa has been released. Well, we cannot say for certain why he was released 2 days after he was abducted and kidnapped, if it was based on pressure coming internally and externally or based on ransom paid. But whatever the case, ransom taking and kidnapping is prone to armed men loyal to Cho Ayaba. These are not assumptions, but facts established by boisterous proclamations of the ADF themselves and live videos over the years. Let's take you down memory lane of the ADF kidnapping exploits. We'll start with the famous one of Ma Regina Mundi, just last year, when she was kidnapped and had to read a script under duress while in the custody of ADF, her kidnappers, proudly displaying their name ADF behind her.
Well, reports has it that Choayaba and group were paid some amount of money before Regina Mundi was eventually released. Well, let's take a look at the video of Regina Mundi while she was kidnapped.
I, Madame Regina Mundi, an ambassador and nationality. Today, the 30th of April 2022, of Ambazonia in La Republique, to also resign and join our brothers to fight and push La Republique out of our country. Ask La Republique to maintain their boundaries as from independence. We should note that it is our right to fight and maintain our territorial integrity. Thanks. Lord, the Federal Republic of Ambazonia.
Well, interesting that sometime later, even after she was released, the ADF expressly said they regretted releasing Mundi. So, why did they release the barrister team this time? The barrister Peter Tafa, rather, this time. Maybe because the ransom and kidnapping is a policy that they adopted. Well, let's take a look at this video of Tarpon saying just this.
It's a movie where they don't pay money. Now, only for Ambazonia, want to feel say all things be free. If they catch a person for ground zero, may want to pay money first before the person come out. I don't always insist. That's boy the way they do on ground zero, they chop na stone. When I want to did the abroad for diaspora, when I need to contribute, those boys on ground zero they get to sustain the refugees. So when they catch a person, they ask when only 3 million when they cry. Maybe when I donate, when I give money for those boys for ground zero when they catch someone a person, because when they can't talk say, oh no, my person have been contributing, show receipts. The water enter different level. The people where they feel say they feel go celebrate Christmas Day for Ambazonia. May they start take this message very wise. Because as when they go, more than put 2 million for his pocket. Because when they catch you, just move your 2 million, release and just start to go. And I feel say when I go shit on quiet for inside diaspora. Why we would talk, we no ever go ground zero. But when I want shit on quiet for come go ground zero. All we get to pay the price. If I dey talk and if you go ground zero, you will need the talk, you go ground zero, you must pay. So you must pay a price. Because I don't know, over years, a lot of things they say, oh no, I don't want to talk in this revolution because I don't want to put my head out there. I still have my business. I want to go back home. No problem. I never deny their rights. But when you go back home, we will signal, say, the man don't come, they catch him. May he pay bill. Once he pay bill, 2 million, 3 million, he will now understand the reason why would the talk, say, me put the talk. The one the way they run the talk, don't succeed for go ground zero. What boys, they know, they go deliver, say, no, that guy in our person. The one the way that they should not quiet, but when a bush follow there for abroad, when I go for December, I want to put 2 million for pocket. Because they say I don't sing this thing tire. The one I war already beg any sympathy. When I know a lot of people the way they did for this revolution since 2016, they need to talk A. If you tell them say, oh, do you know Ambazonia? Say no, I don't know that thing that they call Ambazonia. Just because they want to go for ground zero, they go all the time, they come back. Would they mark their names? They want to give me a list of people where they go ground zero, where they never talk Ambazonia. So that as they reach, I tell our boys and say, when I catch that one, 2, you get 2 million. Catch that one, get 4 million. You go pay, you take care for refugees. Catch the other one, no mercy, no day. Swine. Ambazonians, I go tell one of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So December don't start come. People that they prepare for go Christmas. The one the way they prepare for go celebrate marriage for instance Ambazonia. The one the way they want to marry traditionally. The one the way they want to marry for court. When they go, I want to tell when I'm gonna go on a backup plan. 2 million at least. Because when they hold you na 2 million more move. I will not tell our boys there for ground zero. All defense forces, all whatever they call restoration forces. In fact, any person will eat there for ground zero where they defend women and children. We don't tell them. Same way they collect 2 million for any man come out diaspora. Any man will come out diaspora and collect 2 million for taxes. Because when I don't shit down for ground zero, when I don't fight for defend the land where they come, for can't celebrate marriage, come out go where they no give nothing. When I collect 2 million, if you want to double and that's fine, but the baseline are 2 million. We're gonna collect 2 million for anybody. Una no fear face. Una catch them. Una put them for prison. If you give 2 million before you want to come out. So that made a learn lesson. Say this revolution for all man. Because some of we don't put our head out there. As I put my face for a year now of America. So people they say, hey, that boy, how can he have that courage to be speaking out like that? Is he not afraid? No worry. When you go ground zero, you'll be afraid. Now my own price this for team where they talk and want if you go ground zero. You way you need to talk, enter the ground zero. You go pay 2 million. Now me at the talk you must pay 2 million. People that devise other strategies for keeping our groups alive. And those other strategies, when I get prison, then when I hold them on bail. When I catch one of those or two or this or three of those enablers, the one the way they come out diaspora where they never ever talk for the revolution, but they feel say they feel run business in Ambazonia for war. When I catch them, they go pay 2 million francs before they are released. 2 million. Now, so now take and will survive down our groups that for ground zero because down our groups that they do good things for this revolution, for advance the revolution. But no money ever care. That means that nobody care how will they raise funds, how will they even survive, how will they chop, how will they take care of themselves. Nobody never has the answer. But they're the only one seeing our results. So because those results that they come after something not happen, make una continue for make una struggle, una groups for stand up strong. Bail they back home and if you use bail for raise money, enough money for fund una groups them. We'll continue for give una those strategies and we'll tell una this December diaspora for Ambazonia. They want the way they don't keep their name them very quiet, where they need to talk anything, where they feel say, oh no, me not tapang they talk that nonsense. When they go back, we'll send a list of everybody you name where they go back for ground zero. We'll give them a list. Say this man, this will go there, this sign in that. This one they host marriage for banquet hall for memos. That one they host for Congress hall. And now the dignitaries and this way they will attend for Congress hall. We'll give them all that information. We'll give una. So that may any man, if you want home marriage for inside Congress hall, you invite 20 people there. We'll know say, okay, if they catch all that 20, they will give 1 million. That's 20 million. And 20 million means 20 million bullets. Good job. Any man with the host marriage for inside my most banquet hall for inside war, because war they go on now go celebrate. Anybody with the host marriage for inside Congress hall or any hall for inside Basonia would already know, would already get all that information. I don't want to start to get things every year. Would already get the attendance, people that they have dignitary high table, would already get that. Amba boys, they go to visit those places. They go to take some of those people then so on bail, and they must pay at least 2 million before they release them. Now, so would they raise money to, for instance, those groups the way they don't get spokesman, and so those groups they go stand up.
Oh, well, watching that, I'm sure that you'll be amazed, just as we are here, how confident they come on TV and say some of these things. Well, the armed group in Ambazonia, controlled from Norway, has this kidnap and ransom as their policy. Well, only from last year to this year, we've had reports of several kidnap cases and ransom being gotten before these persons are actually released, almost all of which are perpetrated by the ADF. Last year, armed men believed to be the ADF, very specialized in kidnappings, abducted and ransom taken, released a man they kidnapped in Mile 16, Buya local government area. But not long after that, the ADF visited his house and cleared about 2 million or over 2 million francs CFA, which is over 3,000 US dollars, with a family compelled to pay the money as they were threatened to burn down their if they did otherwise.
Well, such ADF kidnapping escapade from last um, supposed ADF fighters carting away with a bar owner who had to make contacts with his family, demanding a ransom be paid, to which the family reportedly paid 2 million francs CFA for his release. Just in case you thought Barrister Peter Taffa was the first lawyer to be arrested by this gang of kidnappers, a report from last year as well has it that a lawyer who went to bury his father in Batibo was also a victim of this kidnap and ransom taking. Well, civilians sadly have to suffer in the hands of supposed fighters, the ADF, who have been using the fight for the recognition of Ambazonia to make dirty money. Reasons why the interim government has distanced itself unwaveringly from the ADF. We are told that inmates in Kondegi protested yesterday, the 11th of September 2023, against an attempt of unjustifiable transfer of Ambazonia prisoners of conscience to unknown destination by French Cameroon authorities. Several inmates of southern Cameroon's origin from various prison blocks around French Cameroon have been forcefully transferred illegally without the notification of their lawyers or immediate family members.
Oftentimes, forced disappearances are unreported as a result of such unsupervised decisions with the intention to harm southern Cameroon's prisoners. If this is accurate, then we think the United Nations human rights must take immediate steps to hold the Yaoundé regime to account for violating the rights of illegally detained prisoners. We believe that Ambazonians who are not confined home and abroad should use the opportunity of the upcoming Independence Day festivities to shout this and spread the news abroad. Well, moving on, Ambazonians have already restored their independence, the independence that was taken away by La République du Cameroon and France. So, La République du Cameroon youth should do whatever they want if they want a change. Now, this is in respondence to the news report that we have here this evening that says 66% of Cameroonians want a military coup. Whether they want a military coup is not of interest to Ambazonians because they already have their independence. Ambazonians just want to take back their independence. Well, reports from La République du Cameroon confirms some of the pressure that has been felt when the coup hit Gabon a few weeks ago, where the military in La République du Cameroon had to do a reshuffling in its military parastatures. But like we said, Ambazonians are not even interested in whatever goes on in the military of La République du Cameroon. But thinking about it critically, do La République du Cameroon even have the ability to pull a coup? Well, there is a video of the military doing what you say is unnecessary. We'll be right back after you've seen this video. Oh well. What do they say about playing? All works and no play can make Jack a dull boy. But then, I mean, these are the people you're expecting a coup from, right? Well, report has it that La Republic de Cameroon stops in drinking and partying after Germany. So this explains why. I mean, it's likely not to be possible to have anything that looks like that. But I mean, we're just interested in what Ambazonia has to say.
Well, speaking of what Ambazonians have to say, colonial governor, in a press release, says terrorist prohibits the production and circulation of the Post newspaper in his southern zone of Amazon. This is a Bulu whose arrogance has gone beyond measures. Not to usurp the functions of the colonial regulatory organ, the National Communication Council, also called in French La Brigade Administrative. These days, it is so normal to see colonial administrators or forces of occupation, military occupation, undermining their own laws and constitutional policies with impunity, especially if it is against Amazonians. It is just an unfortunate case.
Well, that being said, the lockdown imposed to keep the children, women, and youth safe is still on, although many thought it should have ended today, the 12th. But the interim government knows better and extended it to the 15th of September. Now, let's get this reinforced in audio from Commander Kenneth, spokesperson for ANSC.
Fellow ARF, fellow citizens of Ambazonia, today now Monday, the 11th day of September 2023. And I come up with this very quick and urgent communication from the Ambazonia National Council, ANSC, where it is subordinated to the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. And this communication is concern the ongoing 2 weeks national lockdown at the end on Friday, September 15th. Friday, September 15th, and not on the 12th of September, not on Tuesday, September, as on some flyers. Again, the lockdown of our national territory, it will end on Friday, September 15th, and not on the 12th of September as stated on some flyers. That means the lockdown, it will continue right to Friday, 15th September 2023. Saturday and Sunday, they be exempted as usual, and then we go observe our usual Monday goes down or country Sunday. This one, it means say from Monday, that is today, the 11th, to Friday, 15th September, we go remain indoors. No circulation of motorbikes, motorcycles, tricycles, vehicles, except for ambulances in case of genuine medical emergency. No opening of markets, shops, stores, bars, houses, shower houses, green care houses, drinking palaces, all business premises, they go still be on hold. And this one, it means say, we are schools or we are community schools, they go only go operational as from Tuesday, September 19, 2023. Again, we are schools, we are community schools, they go operational only as from Tuesday, 19th day of September 2023. Remember, say we know they follow the same school calendar with La Republic du Cameroon. And remember, they say this 2 weeks lockdown, it take into consideration the safety and security of our school kids, our students, teachers, and everybody, and the strategic interest of our revolution. The Ambazonia National Self-Defense Council, it don't uncover another diabolical plan by the Republic of Cameroon terrorists, military, and rogue regime for commit another massacre of school children this week between Tuesday and Friday, and that it on the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, as was the case in Garbu, Kumba, Ekondo, Titi, Muyuka, Pinyin, Fikov, Kimbo, etc. And the Ambazonia National Self-Defense Council and the Amazonian people, they get to stay indoors for avoid this market of history. The Republic of Cameroon, it intend for use this monstrous act as propaganda when you will be addressing the United Nations General Assembly on the 21st of September. It also wants or intend for use school resumption for their propaganda say things have already gone back to normal in the so-called northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. We get for sabotage all this move as we don't sabotage the candidacy of young Mona Philemon as 79th president of the United Nations General Assembly. When I remember say Mimimi Fonin through an article written by a certain Fonvera, it be revealed on July 7th, 2023 say La Republique it worked so hard for Philemon Mona Young for their former prime minister who become the 79th president of the United Nations General Assembly, and they don't already deposit documents or they don't already start the campaign before all the diplomatic missions accredited to Yaoundé. And the intention for make Philemon Mona Young the 79th president of the United Nations General Assembly now for sabotage and block the Ambazonan struggle internationally. But thanks to the great and commendable work carried out by the interim government, young Mona Philemon, he candidacy, he don't be disqualified in favor of that of Francis Dennis. Francis Dennis, he come out for that island, that country where they call him, say Trinidad and Tobago. So Francis Dennis of Trinidad and Tobago, now the 79th president of the United Nations General Assembly. Again, we hail our interim government for successfully sabotaging the candidacy of Philemon Mona Young. We, the Ambazonan people, can never give the least chance to La Republique of Cameroon and their agents to succeed in their machinations and diabolical maneuvers. They will not be given reason to smile cynically at us. They will not be given the least chance to torpedo our struggle for prevail. Spokesperson, Ambazonan National Self-Defense Council, spokesperson, Ambazonan Restoration Forces for the 13 counties that make up the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Victory is sure.
Now, onto the African scene. The earthquake in Morocco has put a heavy burden on the North African kingdom's emergency services. Homeless, traumatized, and in some cases, a lot of people feeling abandoned by the authorities. Many survivors of Morocco's powerful earthquake escaped death, only to fear they were now on their own to stay alive. The deadly earthquake has put a heavy burden on the North African kingdom's emergency resources, and some stranded in shattered communities are angry and shocked over what they say is a lack of an influx of aid. North Africa will be Italy's key gas supplier for years.
Well, Algeria, Egypt, and Libya will be Italy's main gas suppliers for the next few years. And his head of natural resources said, adding that the energy group would invest heavily in Africa, both in exploration and in new low carbon projects. And in East Africa, inflation, taxes, and protests challenging first year for Kenya's Richard Naroli won the August 2022 election on a campaign offering a bottom up a bottom-up economic plan to put more in the pockets of small traders, informal workers, and others living hand to mouth. But instead, he imposed new taxes and prices for ordinary Kenyans, which have exploded.
While inflation fell to 6.7% in August in Kenya, but over the past year, petrol prices have increased 22%, electricity by nearly 50%, and household staples like sugar and beans by 61% and 30% respectively. The commercial heart of East Africa, Kenya has, like every other country, faced global challenges that brought pain to economies around the globe, and its recovery was hindered too by a record-breaking drought. The economy, seemingly affected everywhere in the world, should be enough excuse for President William Ruto, but some analysts believe some to be self-inflicted by the president.
And in West Africa, the natives of Benin Republic, Togo, and Nigeria have flagged off Operation Safe Domain 2 with the theme Enhancing Maritime Security through Collaboration for Regional Prosperity. This event was held on Monday in Benin Republic. However, the Niger Republic, one of the signatories to the MOU, was absent at the ceremony.
According to the director of the Multinational Maritime Coordination Center, Zone E, Commodore Anyede Ibok, the operation is an aspect of a memorandum of understanding signed in 2014. Ibok noted that the agreement is to enable the navies of each country to fight criminal elements without any border restriction. And on to African Union, the seventh edition of the African Transitional Justice Forum. The seventh edition of the African Transitional Justice Forum from the 12th to the 14th of September 2023 in Rabat, Kingdom of Morocco.
Well, according to its objective, it aims to reflect on the state of transitional justice within the ambit of this year's theme of inclusive and participatory governance, gender equality, and socio-economic justice in Africa. The seventh edition of the forum will focus on inclusive and participatory governance, gender equality, and socio-economic justice in Africa. It says it will also pay particular attention to other emerging issues, progress, and best practices in addressing these issues. And news across the globe. China expands ban on iPhones and watches as trade war with US escalates. China has expanded its ban on the use of iPhones to local government and state-owned firms. China has a number of its own cell phone brands like Huawei and Xiaomi, but none of them are quite as prestigious or even expensive as an Apple, which provides access to some applications not available elsewhere.
Well, Kim Jong un heads to Russia on armored train to meet Vladimir Putin concerning weapons. Kim Jong un has departed the North Korean capital abroad. His heavily armored private train, North Korean state media KCNA said on Tuesday, as Pyongyang and Moscow confirmed a meeting will soon take place with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Images released by the North Korean news agency shows Kim walking down a red carpet at a Pyongyang station and boarding the green train surrounded by officials. A crowd of onlookers can be seen cheering in the background and waving flags.
All right, and also drones are being launched at Russian airfields from Russia. Drone attacks on Russian airfields in the deep red are almost certainly carried out from Russian territory and the volunteer security patrols, but the Russian Federation has decided to organize will only be partially help combat this. Well, this is what the UK intelligence believes as well.
Now, moving on to the main report on the international scene, the global scene. Biden marks 9/11 in Alaska, calls on Americans to protect our democracy, he says. President Joe Biden marked the 22nd anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attack on Monday, telling service members gathered in Anchorage terrorism, including political and ideological violence, is the opposite of all that we stand for as a nation, he said. He says that we must not succumb to the poisonous politics of different difference in division must never allow ourselves to be pulled apart attending manufactured grievances. We must continue to stand united. Is that we all have an obligation, a duty, a responsibility to defend, preserve, to protect our democracy.
Biden, who had previously marked 9/11 with visits to sites in Shanksville, the Pentagon, and Ground Zero in New York, acknowledged that through Emmerdorf Air Force Base is not located at Ground Zero. He says, "We know the distance did not dull or diminish the pain we felt across the nation of September 11." Biden was speaking at the base as he traveled back from Hanoi, Vietnam, his final stop on the whirlwind trip to Asia to meet with Vietnamese leaders and attended the G20 summit in New Delhi. He says, "Because we know that on this day 22 years ago, planes from these bays were scrambled on high alert to escort planes through the airspace. Alaskan communities opened their doors to stranded passengers. American flags sold out in every store and were placed in front of seemingly every home," he said. He went on to say, "We know that on this day every American sad was wounded. Yet, in every big city, small town, suburb, rural towns, tribal communities, American hands went up, ready to help where they could, ready to serve, like so many of you here."
The president acknowledged that in the days that followed the 9/11, national unity reached a fever pitch in the wake of the terrorist attacks. Biden also took the opportunity to pay tribute to the late John McCain, whose memorial he stopped by earlier on Monday in Hanoi.
All right, and coming up next is sports. Let's mix that elephant in the sports.
Latest world sports, football. Paul Pogba, Juventus midfielder provisionally suspended for anti-doping offense. Juventus midfielder Paul Pogba has been provisionally suspended from playing because of an anti-doping offense. Italy's National Anti-Doping Tribunal, NADO, said Pogba returned a test with levels of testosterone after a 3-0 win at Udinese on 20th August. France international Pogba targets an unused substitute selected at random for post-match drug testing, guilty of doping, face a ban of between 2 and 4 years. Juventus said in a statement. Juventus Football Club announces that today, 11 September 2023, the footballer Paul Pogba received a precautionary suspension order from the National Anti-Doping Tribunal following the results of tests carried out on 20th August 2023. The club reserves the right to consider the next procedural steps. Pogba's agent, Rafaela Pimenta, said she was awaiting the second sample and opinion before the results. What is certain is that Paul Pogba never wanted to break a rule, Pimenta added. NADO said Pogba had violated anti-doping rules when they found a prohibited substance, non-endogenous testosterone metabolites, and the results were consistent with the exogenous origin of the target compounds. Testosterone is a hormone that increases the endurance of athletes. Pogba has 3 days to produce a counter-analysis of the result to NADO. Juventus resigned Pogba in July 2022 after the player ran down his contract at Manchester United and left as a free agent. However, Pogba's return to Turin has been beset by persistent injury problems, which also saw him miss last year's World Cup in Qatar. Pogba has played a combined total of 51 minutes as a substitute this season in games with Bologna and Empoli. Last season, he managed 108 minutes over 6 Serie A games, 3 brief appearances and 1 assist in the Europa League, and 11 minutes in the Coppa Italia, a total of 162 minutes and no goals. Pogba's injury problems resurfaced recently, with Juventus boss Massimo Allegri saying the player picked up a minor back problem following his appearance against Empoli. American football. Aaron Rodgers injured on New York Jets debut in 22-16 win over Buffalo Bills. Star quarterback Aaron Rodgers suffered a suspected Achilles injury on his New York Jets debut against Buffalo Bills. The NFL's four-time most valuable player, who joined from Green Bay Packers in the offseason, was injured in the first quarter after being sacked by Bills defensive end Leonard Floyd. "We're concerned with his Achilles," said Jets coach Robert Saleh. "It's not good." The Jets won 22-16 in overtime at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Rodgers arrived at the Jets amid much excitement as the franchise looked to end in the NFL's longest playoff drought of 12 years. The 39-year-old had spent his entire NFL career with Green Bay and won the Super Bowl in 2011. In the Jets' first game of the season, he lasted a little over 3 minutes when he landed awkwardly on his left ankle. He spent several minutes on the turf before being helped off the field by the medical team. The Jets announced during the second quarter that Rodgers would not return to the game, but that X-rays showed no broken bones. An MRI is probably going to confirm what we think has happened. "So prayers tonight," said Saleh. "I heard for Aaron and how much he has invested in all of this. I'm still going to hold out hope, but my heart's with Aaron right now, nobody else." Zach Wilson, the Jets' regular quarterback for the past 2 years, replaced Rodgers and completed 14 of 21 passes for 100 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Buffalo reserve safety Damar Hamlin, who suffered a cardiac arrest on the pitch in January, was at the game but was not named in the matchday squad. Mixed martial arts. Corinne Laframbeau. Athlete learns she's 3 months pregnant days before fighting for UFC contract. When Corinne Laframbeau received a text in late August telling her she was pregnant, she thought the doctor was joking. Canada's Laframbeau had been for a compulsory blood test before the biggest fight of her career against Rain Guerrero and Dana White's Contender Series, with the winner set to earn a UFC contract. Laframbeau closed her phone and got on with her day, where she works as a dental hygienist in Montreal, Quebec. After finishing her shift, Laframbeau replied to her doctor asking if they had any good wishes and vibes they could send her before her upcoming bout, which was only 6 days away. It was then she received a phone call telling her she would not be able to fight. "Corinne, it's not a joke. You are pregnant, and with the amount of hormones you have, you are probably 3 months past, or you have twins," said the doctor. Laframbeau, 35, was in shock, and she beams with joy as she describes the moment. "I was in the car waiting for my fiancé, and it was like the entire world stopped. We didn't expect it," Laframbeau told BBC Sport. "I was like, what the hell? Twins?" The day after we did a scan to see if there was a baby or a mistake by the doctor, and there was one baby. We heard the heartbeat, we saw the 2 arms, 2 feet, and now we know it's a girl, and she's healthy, no problem. Laframbeau had been training for weeks leading up to the fight, but miraculously had done no sparring, saving the baby from potential harm because of injury. Laframbeau believes a greater force was protecting her baby. "The first weekend I was supposed to spar 2 days before I sprained my ankle. My foot was all blue and I was unable to spar for the entire training camp," said Laframbeau. "I was doing swimming, I was doing more pad stuff, so I didn't get hit. I didn't get hit in the belly, so I think life made that situation happen because of all the events. I think everything happens for a reason." Looking back, Laframbeau recognizes she had symptoms associated with pregnancy, but mistook them for side effects from her training camp. She also did not gain weight because of the increase in her training and stricter diet. "I didn't have my periods, but that happened to me often when you increase your level of training. It's not a big deal," said Laframbeau. "After that, I wanted to puke in the morning, but I thought it was because of the diet. And usually, I love peanut butter and steak, but this time I was like, I don't want any peanut butter, and I had big cravings for lemon, and that kind of thing was weird, but in my mind it was because of the training camp. I trained more, and maybe the diet made me feel like that, but after all, it was because I am pregnant." Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that sports report. And with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's give you a recap of our major stories.
On Undaunted tonight, we brought to you the Baffert 7 Qatar coming back on fire. Barrister Peter Taffel profiling of kidnappers in Amazonia as he is released. We also brought to you Bamenda and Ndop as water sweeps away the only usable bridge in Ndop.
Also, tonight we told you that 66% of the Cameroonese want a military coup. And on the foreign scene, Biden marks 9/11 calls on Americans to protect their democracy. And that was it for tonight on Daunted, bringing to the news on George Stories. On behalf of Michael and Costa Smart and the entire crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
Leaving with ABC Amba TV Images. Good night and God bless you.